Hello, I'm Scott Poynton and welcome to another Cooey podcast. This is the first in a series of 3 podcasts I've recorded with teachers from the Le Chataigneraie campus of the International School of Geneva. In this Inspiring Teachers series, I want to showcase the exceptional efforts of 3 teachers who are having an incredible impact each and every day on the lives of all the children they work with. And while I showcase these 3 great people, this is my own personal nod to teachers the world over. This week, I'm speaking with Robyn Tyner. Robyn teaches history, but is also the coordinator for the International Baccalaureate or IB diploma program at Le Chat. And, as if he's not busy enough, he also teaches the theory of knowledge, which is a key part of the IB program. I decided to interview Robyn because my eldest son had the good fortune to complete the IB diploma at Le Chat. The one thing that inspired me most about my son's learning under the IB program at Le Chataigneraie was that he and all his friends really did come out as great, incredibly well-rounded and inspiring young people. That wasn't a fluke. It wasn't luck. There is clearly something going on over there at the school that allows them to mould and inspire such bright young things year in, year out. I'm sure that the international nature of the community helps, but there's clearly something about the IB program, about Le Chat itself, and most importantly about the teachers, like Robyn, who strive each and every day to educate these kids, that is having a big and wonderfully positive impact. In this podcast, I want to do my small part to say hail Robyn Tyner for the work coordinating the IB program. Hail to Le Chat, hail to all the teachers there, and hail to all teachers around the world who work to inspire and prepare young kids for the uncertain world they will face as they leave the comforts of home. I hope you enjoy listening to and learning about Robyn and the IB program. He inspires the socks off me. So good morning, everybody. I'm with Robyn Tyner. How are you, Robyn?
Good morning, Scott. I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day, finally. We've had a bit of snow here in Switzerland.
Just a bit. It was fantastic cycling in this morning.
Robyn, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your role here. So we should just say that we're in the Le Chataigneraie campus of the International School of Geneva, and I believe you are the IB coordinator. Tell me about the IB and tell me about your role here.
The International Baccalaureate, better known as the IB, is a program very unique that was established in order to cater for kids that were mobile, international kids, people in the diplomatic community. And because as they move around, it's very difficult to settle into national education, problems with language, different cultures, et cetera, et cetera. So in the 1960s, the International Baccalaureate was established basically by this school, plus one of the United World Colleges and a few other schools, to set up a curriculum and a program that was suited essentially for mobile kids. And it had very humble, small beginnings. And from that, it grew into something very, very large. Right now, the IB basically educates about 1.5 million kids, virtually in every country in the world. There are somewhere around 4,000 schools that run the IB. And in the interim time, it's established a reputation as a bit of a gold standard. Universities particularly like it. There is plenty of rigor in it, but there's also plenty of breadth. There are options, and there are compulsory elements that ensure that kids aren't too specialized. By the way, I should mention the IB is broken down into 3 programs. The first initial one that began in 1968 when it was launched was the diploma program, and this is for 16 to 18-year-olds that are final 2 years of school. However, the IB is broadened out and now has a primary program, or PYP, and a middle year program, MYP. And so it's very, very popular around the world. It is taught in a number of languages, English primarily, but IB programs are taught in the other official languages, which are French, Spanish, Mandarin, and German.
It's pretty extraordinary. My oldest son went through the IB here at Le Chat in 2016. It was absolutely grueling.
It was definitely that, yeah.
Absolutely grueling. And I think that's the common theme for the IB. It really pushes the kids way beyond their limit in terms of their their academic learning, but I think it's beyond academic too. I think one of the things that I found with the IB is that the kids come out as extremely well-rounded citizens of the world. I mean, do you think is there a real focus on that with the IB?
Well, I think that's exactly it. I think that's the essential philosophy of the IB, is not to turn people into good citizens of the nation state, but to turn them into good citizens of the world. And their perspective really, really must be global, but also to prepare them for the challenges of the world so that they're quite adaptable. There's no doubt about it. Your son's experience finding it extremely difficult is common to every single student, whether they're academically strong or they're academically have difficulties. Every student is really very much pushed by this program, which equips them. It ensures that when they go from here, they're very, very confident. They go on and they usually excel. I mean, disproportionately excel. There's been a lot of studies done on this. And universities, when they've tracked IB students and compared with nationally educated students, have found that the IB students tend to outperform. I mean, McGill University in Canada did a comprehensive study, and they had a wonderful way of expressing it. They're half as bad and twice as good. And I think that's probably about right. Having said that, they have to go through 2 very, very demanding years, and it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. It will be incredibly challenging. Overwhelmingly, what I keep hearing from students when they come back, the message is university is a lot less tough than the IB. Yeah. And there's a consistency to that message.
Yeah, and what's your role, Robyn? I mean, okay, coordinator of the IB, you've got to keep the show on the road, but I imagine there's a lot of, I don't know if pastoral care is the right word, but, looking after these students as they go through the process.
Scott, it's a really, really broad church. I mean, it's a function that has multiple obligations and responsibilities. I mean, I have to coordinate the staff so that they are aware of the curriculum, they're aware of the assessment regulations, procedures, everything else. So there's that side of it, making sure that all of the teachers here know exactly what they're doing, and that has to be structured. On the other side, there is the students themselves need direction. It's complex. There are so many elements to it, and just to present it all at once is obviously not going to work. So throughout the 2 years, things have to be explained to them constantly. We do this through assemblies and so forth. So they have an understanding of what's expected of them, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and so forth. So there's that contact with students, contact with staff, also contact with administration, because that all has to work with administration in terms of funding, in terms of coordinating. We're in a big school with 3 campuses. We like to ensure that there is links between those campuses, that we're all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet. So there's the administrative side of it as well. And you're right, there's a pastoral side, because I have to work with team leaders here, heads of year, because quite often through the course of the year, some students will find it very, very difficult. Sometimes there are discipline issues. Sometimes there's students who are exasperated, overwhelmed, and all of that has to be dealt with. And as coordinator, you have to be really on the leading edge of finding solutions and trying to ensure kids are motivated and fulfill their potential.
The IB has an incredible ethos to it. The fact that it was set up as an international program to include everyone, but also to look at international values. So it's not just teaching from a nationalistic point of view or from a specific country or national identity. It's really to look at internationalism. And there's the IB learner profile. Even though we may laugh at it, the values that it teaches are incredibly important. And when we get to go to events like the Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy, which I got to go to, you really see these values come to life in these incredible people.
Just to add on to what she said, I feel like the IB doesn't just try to teach us academics and, science and history, but it also tries to teach us a way of life through things like TOK and CAS. Try to teach us to be people who are engaged with our communities and people who can think critically. So it's much more than just an academic program.
I think there's one group of people you missed off the list there that I know you have a lot of contact with, and that's the parents.
Yes, that's true.
There's a lot of I think explaining to the parents about the program as well, and but also perhaps helping parents deal with their own expectations of the children sometimes, isn't it? I know that
that's right.
Some parents like to think their kids are going to be rocket scientists, and when they hit the IB, it something other than that may be the case. And so there's a lot of helping the parents understand the program too, I believe.
You're absolutely right. Managing the expectations of students is a challenge. Managing the expectations of parents is an even bigger challenge. And quite often there's a disconnect between what the student wants to do and what the parents want their son or daughter to do. And quite often we're the ones in the middle that have to resolve that. I see parents probably several times a week, and I have to do many presentations and things like that because it's very important. You're absolutely right. They're part of the partnership here. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to have a challenging program, we need to include and not exclude parents because they play a vital, vital role, particularly when students are feeling overwhelmed. I think including parents in supporting and encouraging and providing that kind of practical help as well in terms of parents have experience with organization, time management, all those kinds of things. And they can play a key role. It's very difficult for us to speak to each and every student every day, but parents do see their son and daughter every day. And so that can make a big difference.
I would say that the IB really is one of the most inclusive programs out there. You have to experience a broad range of subjects, and whether you like it or not, it really does keep your mind open to different aspects of academia.
I really liked taking the IB and having the opportunity to do it because I don't have like a set track of interests and this is what I want to do with my life. And so I liked the fact that I could kind of pick and choose from, the humanities and the sciences and take an interesting combination of them. And I feel that while the IB is extremely difficult, it's extremely practical as well because once we get to college, half the things that we do now, we're going to have to do again and again. And the fact that we get this experience now in high school just means that it's going to be so much easier later on.
Okay, so look, that's the IB. Grueling as it is, we might come back to that. But tell us about you, Robyn. Tell us about yourself and, what brought you to teaching? What's your path here to Geneva? I know it's been a winding one and, you've had lots of amazing experiences. Just share with us, where did you come from? I know you've got Canadian and Welsh background, right. But just tell us about yourself a bit.
Well, my journey is probably very typical of many teachers in the sense that our initial experience is like everybody else. Teaching is a profession you experience through what you observe when you're in school yourself. And probably like every single other teacher, that was the profession that was least on my mind when I was sort of 17, 18 and leaving school. That would have been the first one I would have rejected. And it's interesting, most of my colleagues say the same thing. So it's more by accident than design that you fall into teaching. And the reason I ended up teaching is because during the summer I was very fortunate. I'd sailed all my life. And
you grew up in Canada? Right?
In Canada, that's right. And I was a qualified instructor and would spend every summer actually well paid to teach people how to sail. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was great to be outdoors. It was great to be doing something I was passionate about. But also, I enjoyed the teaching. It was really quite rewarding to be able to take people who were novice, who couldn't do something, and weeks later are enjoying it and are competent at doing it. And you start to realize that, you played a role in that development. And that's nothing more rewarding than helping people acquire new skills and learn new things. And so that's really why I fell into teaching, is when I graduated from university. I graduated a history degree from Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, Canada. And I started to realize when I looked at what I wanted to do in life that perhaps teaching was the obvious thing. And so I pursued that. As to my background, like many of the kids that I teach, I'm a bit of what you might call a third culture kid, in the sense that I was born in one place, grew up in another, and have parents from different places. So I was born in Wales. According to my parents, my first language was actually Welsh, but they took me away from Wales at the age of 5, and I then spent my formative teenage years in Canada, which was a fantastic experience. So I feel very privileged in a sense that I remain very connected to Wales, and yet also have enjoyed the experience of growing up in Canada, which is a very special place. And I was in the eastern part of Canada, Nova Scotia, which, in addition to having harsh winters, has a very, very beautiful, beautiful setting. And the city I grew up in, Halifax, a city about 350,000. So it's big enough to be dynamic and exciting, but small enough where you can get out and escape. Yeah. So I feel very fortunate that life has been so kind that I've been in these places. But I still remain very connected with the UK and particularly Wales, not just because of rugby.
Great follower of the Welsh rugby team.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit difficult at the moment, hard times. But we've had good times in recent years. I actually went back to the UK and did my postgrad there, my teaching diploma. I worked in the UK. I actually ran a sailing school in the UK for a while. Met my wife, Sally, in the UK. In fact, my first teaching job was right on the Welsh border in a place called Chester in England. I should say I did my teacher training in North Wales. So I kind of reconnected with those roots, and that remains a very special time in my life. So I have to say that I went through teacher training a little bit intimidated by what the profession offered. I naively thought that this was a profession that meant you worked from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon and had fantastic holidays. Quickly to discover that is an urban myth, and it is anything but. I think teachers actually work some of the longest hours and some of the hardest hours, and any holidays or surplus holidays they may assume to have are actually well earned. It's quite common to have 14, 15, even 16-hour days. There's a lot of work in preparation, and that must be thorough. There's an awful lot of work in marking. And there's an awful lot of work in communication. That's increased over the years. I at the moment, receive about 100 emails a day.
Crikey. Yeah, just with people wondering what's going on and how the program's unfolding.
Inquiry, yeah. Basically, schools have evolved and changed, and communication's evolved and changed. And so people are now empowered and want quick responses to a host of questions, some from very simple things to other more complex personal things. So there's a constant treadmill of communication, and it has to be dealt with. It's part of the job, and it's important. It's really important.
You mentioned history, Robyn, as well as coordinating the IB. You're a history teacher here at the school.
That's correct.
What's your passion for history? You've obviously studied at university. Yeah. I know you, whenever we talk, you always have that passion for history. Where did that come from, do you think?
Probably when I was young. Like many young people, you sort of take to one subject, and that was the subject that seduced me. It was something that was far and above more interesting to me than the other subjects. I was never a scientist or a mathematician, but when it came to literature, I enjoyed that. But history, there was something very special. And I think there was a natural curiosity I had towards the past and understanding why things happened in the way they did. And growing up in the 70s, which was the time of the Cold War, there was quite a lot of rhetoric going around that was very charged and to what to me seemed very clearly subjective. And I was very curious to know about the other side in all of this. Were they really the demons and bad guys that they're presented to be in media broadcasts and so forth? It just didn't seem to fit that the world was so simple of good and evil. And so I became very interested in, for example, in the nature of the Soviet Union. Why was it like this? Why is it presented like that? What is it really like? Although at university I specialized in Germany, and then some postgrad I specialized in Russia. And professionally I started to, I suppose about 15, 20 years ago, take a fascination in Japan and China. And I even went through a phase of being utterly seduced by the politics of the Balkans. So I was reading all around the Balkans.
Pretty complex out there.
Pretty complex, pretty challenging. And it's quite nice because we have a new program that just launched this year, which actually involves some Balkan history, modern Balkan history. So we're looking at the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s and the whole question of intervention. And so it's quite good fun that I get to go back to that little little area of interest. So it's really, really good.
You're listening to a QE podcast with Scott Boynton. Read about this episode and listen back to more QE podcasts at scottboynton.com.
Theory of knowledge?
Theory of knowledge, probably your listeners are not aware of what this might be, but theory of knowledge is something very unique to the IB diploma course, and it's something that's part of what we call the core. The core is three essential elements that every student must do, and this is what I think distinguishes the IB diploma, because of course we have subjects like chemistry, physics, math, history, geography, languages, but the core involves these three special elements. One is an extended essay, which is a 4,000-word research paper.
It's like a mini thesis, isn't it?
It's a mini thesis, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the students choose the subject, they choose the topic, the research question, and they have a supervisor that works on the one-on-one. Brilliant preparation for university.
It was great for our son, absolutely.
And intimidating, but there we go.
Big
they
project.
do it. The second element is something called creative active service, which is brief, IB love acronyms, CAS. And this means that it's essential that they have projects that involve all three of those. They do something that's creative. Now, creative doesn't mean just playing the piano or painting pictures. Creative can mean being involved in environmental groups like Greenpeace or something like this, where they're actually learning. Creative can be maybe teaching others, where they'll use creative skills. Active meaning physically doing things, sport, and so forth. And that's not just in the school, but outside of the school. And then service, which means helping others that are less privileged than ourselves in some capacity. And that, again, can be done in the school and outside. In fact, I'm very much encouraged outside in the community. Yeah. My own son, for example, worked in the soup kitchens in Geneva, and they really have to be pushed out of their comfort zone. And they have to reflect on all of that and really document what they've done. And the third element is TOK, or Theory of Knowledge. And this is a compulsory course, but it's a course in critical thinking. And I can't think of anything more relevant or important, especially today, in a world flooded with fake news and a lot of confusion about what's real and what's not. And this course really it's an epistemological course, but on the other hand, it links all the time with the here and now, with contemporary events. It is taught in a completely unconventional way. There's a lot of emphasis on student participation, discussion, listening, asking questions, presenting. So the whole dynamic is very, very different. We also hear set it up, structure it so it's a bit like university, trying to simulate the university experience, because schools and universities are two completely, entirely different things. Yeah. So kids really have no idea what university is like in terms of how it happens on a daily basis. So we have lectures inviting outside speakers, using a team of TOK teachers we have, so that they learn the discipline of a lecture. The lectures tend to be very good, because if you have a team of teachers and they all have to present, they don't want to let anybody down in front of their peers. Right. So the quality of them tends to be extremely good. And then the idea of having a seminar where you discuss the contents in it, which is very much like what most universities do. So it kind of is an introduction to that whole different approach to learning, taking you out of the very structured environment of a secondary school into a less structured environment, but stimulating.
It was one of the most stimulating parts for our son. And it was funny because he'd come home and share with us what he was learning. And, because when he talked to me a bit about maths and things like that, I was able to offer a bit of advice. Yeah. But when it came to TOK, some of the I wouldn't say abstract is not the right word, but really, as you say, critical thinking. And I had to say to him, well, mate, this is something you've got to do yourself. It's not something I've got an opinion on these things, which I can share with you. But some of it was, the aspects of the ways of learning, I can't remember all the acronyms in there as well. But
yeah, that's right.
It was a bit hard for me to even give him much advice on that. But I think it was one of the subjects that he enjoyed the most, because it absolutely stretched him beyond anything. He could sit there and look at chemistry and maths and his biology. And these are, things you can learn.
Absolutely.
But when you've got to actually think, and there's no one telling you what to think or what to learn, it's an absolutely fantastic subject.
But that's exactly it. That's what makes it so different. Most kids find learning challenging in some ways, but the easiest learning is just learning content, because there's nothing really to do other than just memorize. It's a very simple process. And some people are obviously better than others, but generally speaking, you just know what you have to do. But then suddenly told you've got to think for yourself is completely different challenge altogether. And it can be quite scary.
These are young people who...
They're young people, exactly.
Maybe emerging from adolescence where they haven't, they've had everything done for them, by their parents and everything. Suddenly they're being challenged with big issues.
One day he said, we'll have a debate and I'll bring croissant and you guys can bring coffee as well. So he brought us little pastries and we talked about causes of World War I for a couple periods and snacking and eating breakfast together. So it was very nice, and he's very caring and treats us as equals, which is very refreshing. He's definitely a standout character, teacher.
Well, Mr. Tyner is, let's just say he's a great teacher. I think he knows how to talk through a class. He's very fluent when he talks. From my experience, he's one of the teachers that actually keeps the class quiet. The way he teaches and how he engages with the class, I think it's great.
I think that he's an extremely enthusiastic teacher, and you can really tell when you come to class that The way he teaches, he loves what he does, and he really hopes that we love it too. And because he loves what he does and he prepares so much, always has little stories to tell us, and he cares about our opinions as well, it makes us also really enthusiastic about history.
I think it's really good that they're encouraged to formulate their own opinions, or at least question the opinions of others. I mean, what we really want to do is create skeptical thinking. Either people are sheep or cynics. And I think what we really want is skeptics that's somewhere between a sheep and a cynic. And a skeptic is somebody who's just going to ask the right questions before they make up their own minds. So it's informed judgment. And I just think that's a really healthy thing to do, particularly at the moment. The echo chambers that increasingly people are being hermetically sealed into are quite frankly frightening. And the polarization which is going on socially and politically, an existential crisis in democracy. And I think the only way that can be resolved is through the right education, by having kids think critically and get out of that echo chamber and recognize what an echo chamber is, the world of confirmation bias, and that they need to escape that is a prison. It's a comfortable prison, but they need to get out of it. And for the sake of democracy, we need to have that. And so I would think that the only way democracy can be revived and healthy is by having young people thinking critically, thinking for themselves, not the way the textbook tells them, not the way the teacher tells them, but there should be a process. And that process involves, introspection, questions, reflection, and then judgment.
Yeah, I think you're right. So coming back to you, Robyn, so tell me, what inspires you? What gets you out of bed in the morning and has you racing on your bike to come to work? Because you ride to work most days, so you're keeping fit and healthy. But what inspires you, mate?
That's a difficult question to give a direct and straight answer to, because I think there are many things that inspire me. And one of the things that I feel very fortunate in, that I work with young people, and I often hear disparaging remarks made about young people of today. And yet I find them inspirational. I find them full of energy, intelligent, full of potential. And whenever you feel bad about the future, you should just come and look at our young people, and it will inspire. And I think it's great. I feel inspired by working with people who are around me. I happen to be, again, very fortunate to be surrounded by some of the most competent people. And we work very much here as a team. And I think there's always something hugely fulfilling when you're working with a team. It's great. It's uplifting. You're not on your own. You're part of a bigger group that have a common goal. And our common goal here is to make a difference. And, we work together towards that goal, and that's rewarding.
I think the IB can be quite limited in terms of perspectives. The syllabus is quite narrow, whereas he really promotes having wide perspectives, and he doesn't ever judge what your opinion is as long as you can back it up. I really appreciate that, because when we write the essays, you can be so open-minded, and it's a great thing to have in history.
I would say that as a teacher, his passion for the subject is inspiring, and it's inspiring for all of us every day that we come to class. And he does turn a subject which some people may view as a set of facts and dates and names into a very vibrant story with colourful characters and intense, and something which has an impact on us all.
What do you think's been your greatest achievement, or what is that moment when you look back in your career, or is there a particular student or an event that happened where you say, wow, that was sensational, and you hold on to it?
Oh, wow. The list is really long as far as that goes. When you mention individual students, when you've been teaching for a number of years, one hopes, if you're a teacher, that list is going to be quite substantial. Yes. If it's not, you might want to reconsider your role. But yes, I can think of many cases of students who had challenges and difficulties, and to play just a part in that student overcoming them and ultimately succeeding is just uplifting. It's just what you do the job for. I mean, teaching is not a profession you go into for money. Its rewards are completely different. They're not so tangible, you know, they're more spiritual.
Yeah. I mean, you send these kids out into the world. I mean, I guess you do it sometimes with a bit of worry for them. You know, they're going out into the wide world. But I mean, I guess it's as you say, it's your job to prepare them as well as you can for that in the hours of the day that you have them with you.
Yeah.
How do you feel with these kids and you hear their stories about, oh, such and such is doing this and such is doing that? And I mean, you must get great reward.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, quite a lot of graduating students do keep in touch. And it is just so heartwarming when you hear of their success and their stories, which continued afterwards. And it's nice not to be completely disconnected. I mean, the majority you don't hear from, but there are a number that are kind enough to keep you updated on what's happening in their lives. And there have been many that have enjoyed extraordinary success. And what's so lovely is quite often they will refer back to those formative years they had, which you may have played a part in. And I think that's really, really nice to think that you were just a small part of steering them in a direction which ultimately proved fulfilling for them. And it puts a smile on your face. I think it's really, really nice.
Because it's not all roses. I imagine there's moments of despair as well. I mean,
plenty of those. And
I guess it's when you see kids not fulfilling their potential for whatever reason. And I guess that's a challenge. But I mean, overall, I mean, how do you feel about the future? I mean, what's your feeling? I mean, the world's in a strange place. These kids are going out into this, what seems to be a more chaotic and crazy world. I mean, how do you feel for the future? What's your sense?
Well, first of all, I think we always have to be optimistic. The pessimism doesn't get anybody anywhere, and particularly in our role here, I mean, to be negative would be counterproductive.
Right.
You know,
send the kids out there all depressed.
That's right, exactly.
You're finished.
That's right. Yeah. Forget it.
Forget it, guys.
You guys have had it. You know?
You guys have had it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm lucky I was born when I was. You know, just tough on you. You know, you got it wrong. The accident of birth. You know, you have to ultimately be optimistic, but they also have to be realistic as well. Yes. And I think it's, as I mentioned before, about managing expectations. It's managing expectations about the next step in their life and what that's going to involve, but also managing expectations of what kind of a world we live in. And I think it's really important, particularly in the context of an international school, for students to be very, very aware of what the big issues are and to engage with them. There's absolutely pointless in trying to seal them off from that and those dangers, whether it be environmental change, whether it be those political change I mentioned before, of a crisis in democracy, whether it be certain threats to international security, things on terrorism and ISIS and so forth. I think it's absolutely vital that discussions are had with young people so that they can engage with it. There's no point in wrapping them in cotton wool and protecting them from that. But at the same time, I think we'll have to encourage them that they can be part of the solution, that they can make a difference. Yeah. And it is about them taking control of their own destiny, but also the destiny of the world, and that they will have a contribution to make. And so much of it is about attitude and going into the world with the right attitude. And that's not just on the big things, it's on the small things. You know, that's how they interact with other people. That's how they can show empathy for others and understanding. And I think that's just about becoming a good person. And everybody can achieve that. But as long as they think about it and they think about what kind of person do I want to be.
They've got to be active about it. They can't just assume they're going to be good people.
Well, this is it. And this quite often happens. And I think they have to be aware, be more self-aware and really, really work on that. And so in education, our role is not just to teach them to be good historians or chemists or mathematicians. I think really we have a role in trying to help them be good people, and in terms of being responsible, sensitive, aware, all of those things, and not too self-centered. And this is always a fear as well. We do live in a society that encourages being very, very self-centered.
We do indeed. Robyn, you've been listening to Robyn Tyner, Inspiring Teacher. At the end of my chat with Robyn, I had some technical issues, and our last few exchanges weren't recorded. I thanked Robyn for speaking to me, and I told him how grateful I was for the work he had done with my son. but also with the IB program in general. I told him how truly inspiring he was. In typical fashion, Robyn quietly thanked me for my kind words, and we quickly moved on to another subject, about Wales's prospect in the upcoming Six Nations rugby tournament, I think. I don't think it's any coincidence that my kind words were lost. Robyn, like so many teachers I've met, is humble about his work and prefers to go about it unheralded. It's nice to be thanked, but truly inspiring people never seek it out. Robyn Tyner really is inspiring. And in my next podcast, you'll meet another truly inspiring teacher, Bryony Taylor, who works with the youngest kids at Leshat, the grade 1s. I'll talk with Bryony about how the earthworm farm we set up together a few years back has transformed the lives of more than 600 kids throughout the primary school. I'm Scott Poynton. Thanks for listening.